thanks for joining this morning, afternoon. We have Matt Panos, who is actually an agent with Coldwell Banker. So he understands the business, he understands real estate, and he also works with a company called Smith AI. And he's going to talk about virtual assistants, virtual receptionists, and as you can see, how it can help your business. So Matt, if you want to take it from here, welcome and thank you.
Sure, absolutely. All right. Well, first I want to say thank you to Jody. I really appreciate you taking the time to get me on the schedule here. And I want to say thank you to all you guys who are showing up and willing to take a look at this. I think this is going to be very beneficial to all of us in the business. And we'll get into that here. So the big thing about virtual receptionist services is a lot of people might not know really what it is, but it's basically similar to like an assistant, obviously not in an office, and they can help you out from anywhere in the world using a lot of digital tools and techniques. The big thing is that a virtual receptionist can answer calls for you on your behalf, and I'm going to get into that here. Okay, so as mentioned, I am Matt Panos. I'm with Coldwell Banker, the real estate people. That's Bob Stewart's office over off Berryessa Road. But I also have a full-time position with Smith AI as a sales executive. Smith AI is a Palo Alto startup, so it's a local company. It's been around since 2015, and thus far we have handled over 2 million conversations for all kinds of people and all kinds of different types of businesses. I'm going to be talking about how can a virtual receptionist help grow your business, specifically for the real estate industry. And then I'll be discussing what they can do for you. And I will provide a copy of this slide deck. I have a link that I can share with you guys at the end of the presentation. And we can also go over some questions at the end as well. So the big thing is, I mentioned calls coming in. A virtual receptionist can answer all those calls on your behalf, and the caller is going to get a live person every time that they're calling in, which I think is huge, especially in the real estate business when you're expecting leads, especially if you're expecting new leads, maybe people that you don't already have a relationship with, but they're reaching out to you because of your advertising campaign, or maybe they got your contact info from a friend or family member and they're reaching out to you. But if they don't get a live person on the phone, you might end up actually missing that lead and costing yourself in the long run. So the virtual receptionist can offer that. They also can help free up your schedule a bit by being kind of like on call during the hours that you would like them to be, allowing you to free up more time for yourself. It's also a professional answering service, which I feel, and I think many people feel obviously, that it adds credibility just to your business in general, in terms of like helping with call screening. And it also, I think, allows a better customer service experience because you have that person who's on 24/7 to take that call, and they'll answer these calls however you'd like them to. Whatever greeting you want, whatever instructions you have for the different type of scenarios that people are calling in for. It just adds another level of customer service that should help build your brand and build your business in general. Virtual receptionist can also do outbound calling, which I think is huge as well. If you're running an advertising campaign, maybe you get a list of leads, names and numbers, and you want to reach out to them to find out, if they could be a potential client of yours. Well, you can actually give that list of leads to the virtual receptionist, and they will make those calls for you on your behalf and qualify those leads. So I see that as a huge benefit as well. As I mentioned, missing calls. I think in our business, it's really important to have to be very responsive and to be available to the clients. If someone tries to call in and maybe you miss the call, maybe they leave a message, you don't get to it, or whatever reason it falls through the cracks. That's just a bad look for the business, and you could potentially develop a reputation of not being a responsive agent, and that could just hurt your brand or your reputation. So by having a virtual receptionist, it adds that other layer of customer service and responsiveness to really allow you to stay on top of the leads and the clients that you want to be involved with. And I took this stat from cbsnews.com. 80% of callers do not leave a voicemail. So if you think about that, that's pretty crazy, especially if you're spending money on advertising campaigns, whether it's mailers or signage, digital print, whatever. If you're missing those calls that are coming in, it's like, what are you really paying for? So with that many people not leaving a voicemail, you're able to have a virtual receptionist there who could answer that phone for you. That person could have a live person to talk to, and a virtual receptionist can also get them on your schedule, or they'll send you a call summary letting you know so-and-so called in, this is what they're calling for. And you can get that information in real time and call that person back immediately. So you don't have to worry about them reaching out to another agent or maybe someone at another brokerage firm. Outbound calling, pretty self-explanatory. I already mentioned if you have a list of leads, they can reach out to them. I think it's really cool just to have a digital calendar. I'm sure a lot of you guys have that, and if you don't, you definitely should be using one in this day and age. The virtual receptionists, at least the ones with Smith AI, can pull up your calendars and they can get people booked on your schedule. So if you have a marketing campaign and you would like a virtual receptionist to reach out and call those folks, they can call them and then get them scheduled on your calendar so that you guys can have a consultation and hopefully get it, close a deal or get into a contract. Call screening, that's another big benefit of the virtual receptionist system. Professional sounding phone service. As I mentioned, it helps with brand credibility and customer service. One of the cool things that's unique to Smith AI is that Smith AI, their virtual receptionists actually filter out all of your spam calls. So I know as a realtor, even though I'm part-time, I'm still getting calls from spammers asking me if I want to use their services. And a virtual receptionist can filter out all those calls that are coming in and just transfer the calls that you want to you or send you a call summary. So to me alone, just the pricing for the service, I mean, we have a service plan that starts as little as $140 a month just to filter out all your spam calls and not be charged for those. I see that as a huge perk just in itself. 24/7 reliability. Our virtual receptionist with Smith AI, our service is 24/7, and you can set the calls so the virtual receptionists take them whenever you want. So the hours are completely customizable. Maybe you want to answer all your calls during the day, but at night you want to spend time with friends or family, so you'd like to have the virtual receptionist take up that time. You can turn the service on at that time and they can handle all your evening calls if you'd like them to. And then I already touched on this, you're only going to be talking with the prospects that you would actually like to be speaking with. I don't know about you guys, but well, I mean, I'm sure with you guys, your time is very valuable. So when we have these calls or people, reaching out to us, we want to make sure that it's worth it for us. And a virtual receptionist can help you with that. You can give your virtual receptionist the instructions on how you run your business and the type of calls you take. For example, maybe you only deal with like certain types of properties, or maybe you only represent buyers or sellers, all kinds of different scenarios. And so you can give those instructions to your virtual receptionist and they can filter out those callers that don't meet your criteria, which to me is extremely valuable. Off hours and weekends is pretty self-explanatory, but it is nice to be able to get away sometimes and maybe just turn the phone off and relax with the family or treat yourself to a nice vacation. Maybe not so much now during COVID, but you know, during other busy times of the year and when people are most social, it's nice to be able to just tune out. So a virtual receptionist can allow you to basically be free for yourself, and you don't have to worry about missing clients or clients' calls. You can make sure your virtual receptionist has your calendar. They can get those people, book appointments for those people, and you can speak to them when it works for you. Appointment bookings, I just touched on all that, but absolutely, just in my experience, setting an appointment with someone is like a stronger commitment, as opposed to just, you know, playing phone tag or leaving voicemails. In my experience, if you actually get someone on the phone or get them scheduled with an appointment, they're more likely to show up and have that conversation with you, as opposed to you guys playing phone tag or just reaching out at random hours. If you get them on your appointment, on your schedule or on your calendar, most likely they're going to honor that commitment, and you end up going to have a high quality conversation with that person. So I think that's one of the biggest things for me with the virtual receptionist, is just having someone that's going to be talking to your leads and then filling up your calendar, especially if you have multiple listings a month. It can get very busy with everything that's going on. So that's a huge help. That's pretty much what a virtual receptionist can do for you in general. There are a lot of different types of virtual receptionist services out there. Not all of them offer the same features, and I'll get into a little bit here about what Smith AI offers. Smith AI can professionally answer your calls, texts, chats, and social media messages. And when I say social media messages, I'm talking about Facebook. If you guys have your own Facebook pages, Smith AI can actually answer Facebook messages for you that are coming in. If you go on the website, you'll see how the billing works, but you only pay for real conversations. If you have a spammer or someone just messing around on your Facebook page asking silly questions, or they're not legit, you actually don't get charged for those messages that are coming in. Same thing with the calls. You are only charged for real calls coming in. You don't get charged for spam or telemarketers. You can also give a VIP list of numbers to Smith AI, and those are calls that will either get routed straight to you or they'll get routed to your voicemail, and Smith AI won't touch them, and you won't be paying for those. So we can go over some of those questions at the end if you have some, or you can check out the website. Smith.ai is the website. Smith AI help captures your leads and qualifies them. You can give Smith AI a specific set of instructions on the questions that you'd like them to ask, and instructions on how they want them to handle those calls. If it's something that's more of a urgent or pressing matter, they can just transfer the call directly to you, or they can send you a text message asking you if you're available. There's different ways that the virtual receptionist can communicate with you depending on the type of caller that's calling in and how you want it to be handled. I already said no charge for the VIP numbers. Appointment booking, we went over that. I think number 5 is a really big one. Add lead contact information to your CRM. With Smith AI and with Coldwell Banker, I am using CRM platforms to keep track of all my client data. I'll add my new clients to those platforms and use it to schedule meetings, check back on my notes to know where they're at in the sales process. Smith AI can do that stuff for you as well. We integrate with a lot of different CRM platforms. A lot of them are real estate related platforms as well. So if you're not currently using a CRM platform, feel free to follow up with me. I'll have my contact information here on the last slide, and you can reach out to me and we can talk about CRM, maybe some of the ones you might want to try and use if you haven't used one before. And I'm willing to help with any of that stuff, even if you're using our service or not. I'm willing to answer those questions for you guys. Number 6, no employee overhead or schedules. That can get very complicated if you have a full-time receptionist, whether you're in an office or remote. If you have a single individual helping you, your schedule is going to somewhat revolve around their schedule as well. For example, if they're sick or maybe they have kids, There's nothing wrong with any of that stuff, but if they're expected to take your calls and answer the phone for you, it might not be as reliable when you're relying on an individual person. Whereas if you're relying on someone like Smith AI, you get 24/7 access anytime you want. You can pause the service, say the holidays are pretty slow, you don't want to use it at that time. You can turn it off for the month of December, take all your own calls, or maybe just have them handle overflow calls or evening calls. It's completely customizable, and that's something you can't do with a single individual. And then you also have the employee overhead as well. With Smith AI, you don't have to worry about that. There's no turnover. The instructions are always the same for all the agents that take the phone calls. They're all going to answer it the same way that you want them to for your business. And then the last one I did touch on as well, number 7, make outbound calls for you. That's unique to Smith AI. A lot of the other virtual receptionist companies will not make outbound calls for you, but I think that's huge if you have a list of leads, as I already discussed earlier in the presentation. So that's pretty much it. These are a few of the CRM integrations we can do. We integrate directly with Pipedrive. We integrate with like Follow Up Boss, Wise Agent, Total Brokerage. Those are some other ones that realtors use. We integrate with all those platforms. Some of them we integrate through Zapier. Some of them we integrate directly with. I can give you guys more information on CRM integration with Smith AI to determine if the agents will be able to enter that CRM information or that contact information into your CRM platform. But we can talk about that in a follow-up call if any of you would like to. So we are running a promotion. We made a special promotion for the association here. It's for $100 off. So I'll give you a copy of this slide deck. But if you want to take a note of that, you can use that coupon code. It's for $100 off your first month's bill. And then we can also offer you guys a 14-day, 20-call free trial with no commitments and no obligation to provide any payment information. I think this is a phenomenal opportunity because you can assess the service to see if you're getting any ROI on it and see if it makes sense for your business. I know in our office over off Berryessa Road, I've been talking with our broker and our transaction coordinator who works as a receptionist in our office. They have agreed to set up a call forwarding type system. So what basically would happen is if someone's calling into that main office line and someone's not available to answer it, it will automatically go to an agent, a virtual receptionist agent, I should say. And then that virtual receptionist agent will transfer it to one of the agents in the office, depending on the time of day. I think what we're going to do in our office is we're going to have it set for call overflow during normal business hours. They'll go to the agent that the call is transferring to. And then after hours and weekends, I believe, since our physical office is not open during those times. So that's one example of how we're going to be using it. And I'm happy to answer any questions on how you guys might want to use it. So that's pretty much it. Thank you, Jody.
Mm-hmm. There is a couple questions that came in, and this is I think a good one. Since family and friends and other people have, a cell phone number or phone number, and you always want to take their calls, how do you handle maybe somebody that only has one number? Do you suggest getting a second number that's just for business purposes, or how does that work?
So with Smith AI, they can actually redirect all those VIP numbers, those friends and family numbers to you. So if you want to keep your main line there, you can give a list of your contacts to Smith AI that you're okay with them going through to you, and you would not be charged for any of those calls, and Smith AI would not handle them.
So it sounds like it would just ring straight to you instead of going over to them. Okay.
Yep, that's correct.
And the other question is, it sounds like this is a different kind of a service than a virtual assistant who maybe does other duties. So this is more than just, answering the phone. It's doing scheduling. It could be social media. So it's those types of things, correct?
Yeah, it's pretty much not necessarily like a full-on assistant in terms of like, um, like obviously they're not going to run any like types of errands for you. They're probably not going to check emails and respond to emails, but it's like a hybrid between like a standard virtual receptionist really just answers the phone and transfers it. That's pretty much all they do. But with Smith AI, it's kind of like a hybrid in between an assistant and a virtual receptionist. That's kind of how I would say. That's how it relates. And when you go on the website, smith.ai, you can see all the different features. We also offer chatbots. We can actually load up a chatbot onto your website, and you can have a live agent on the other side of it if you want them to, and they can book appointments that way. Smith AI also can take payments for you, but I was trying to think about how that really relates to us, and it doesn't really relate to us unless we're paying for something on behalf of a client and they need to pay us back, I guess. But other than that, I don't really see how the taking payments applies to us. But most of the other features do apply. I think the main thing is just managing your time and having a live person there to catch your calls, and you're not going to get charged for any of the spam calls. So they're going to answer all your calls, and you're only going to be charged for it and talk with the people that you care about speaking with.
Awesome. And then somebody had a question about charges. So I put your website in there because I did look, and there is a pricing section, but of course you have the $100 off in the 2 weeks for a free trial to try it out. How do they handle, I'm going to ask a question. So
Sure.
let's say that, your grandma Lucy, who lives in Michigan, who you really don't talk to very often, calls because you're on vacation. Can they transfer calls to you from, that random family member that you don't talk to very often, or a friend, so that you're not giving them all of the information?
Absolutely, they can. So if someone calls in and they're not part of your VIP line, depending on your instructions, I mean, you can completely tailor your instructions however you want, depending on the type of caller. So if
Mhm.
it's someone calling in that might be a personal call, but they don't have that VIP information, they could just transfer it over to you. Basically what happens is you have a Smith AI phone number assigned to your account, and then you set it up with your provider, whether it's like Verizon, AT&T, Ring Central, you can go down the list. You set it up so those calls get forwarded to Smith AI based on your instructions, and Smith AI can actually do that portion for you. And then any calls that come in that a Smith AI agent speaks to, if they're instructed to transfer that type of call back to you, they'll just reach out to you via main line, and then they'll actually be able to transfer that caller directly to you once they call in. They'll say, I have so-and-so on the line, are you available? Do you want to take this? And then you can. They also can text you and say, hey, we have this person on the phone. This is what they're calling for. Would you like to take this? And if they say no or no response within 30 seconds, Smith AI will just take that message however you want them to, based on that scenario. And one other thing I don't think I mentioned is you do receive a call summary after every single call, even if it's spam. So you get a call summary via email. You can also get it via text message, and then you can get a daily call summary report, or actually you will get a daily call summary report with all the calls that came in. And then there's also a dashboard that you can log into, and you can filter your calls by spam, new client, existing client, and you can see what those calls were and how they were handled. So you can kind of keep tabs on the service if you'd like, to make sure it's being handled how you want it to be handled.
Okay. When it goes to the spam thing, I think of like the spam that I get, and sometimes I can block numbers. Can you block numbers also on the Smith AI?
That's a good question. I think we have a newer feature for blocking specific numbers. But I do know that if there's a number you're trying to block, you could just say, I get a lot of calls from this business or this type of business, classify that as a spam call. That is a spam call. And then it's just going to be blocked as spam anyway, and you won't get that call. You could see if it shows up in your dashboard.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what I can say about that now. But I can follow up if that's something that someone would like to talk about.
Okay. Does anybody else have any more questions? Otherwise, this was, great information. Oh, wait, got a couple. Let me see here. Let's see. Can you add a chat box to multiple websites?
Yes, a chat bot. Yeah, chat box. Yeah, we can add a chat box to multiple websites. We do have a free one that just has automated questions and response pre-programmed.
Mhm.
And basically, you get a copy of the transcript sent to your email inbox. That one is actually completely free. We can give you the coding for that or give it to your tech person that manages your website, however you do that. We can get that on there. If you want the live service, it is a paid plan.
Okay.
And it is available for different websites, but it would be billed separately for each type of site. But we could bundle it. The more chats that come in, the better pricing you get. So if it's all being billed to one person or one entity, we could give you a discount based on the volume and just have it on different websites.
Okay. And this is a good question. So maybe sometimes it's not always a prospective buyer or seller, but the agent. So can there be an instruction that says an agent from, KW or, wherever is calling and they have a question on this specific listing? Two questions, I guess, with this. Sorry, I'm going to take your question and morph it. But can the receptionist look it up and say, oh yeah, it's MLS listing, blah, blah, blah? Or would it just be, you need to go check it out on the MLS. It is listed as an active listing?
I would say the later.
Okay.
And they could provide them with the instructions on where to go check it out.
Okay.
That would probably be this situation where that type.
It could get granular if you're talking about very specific addresses, but if somebody's calling about a specific listing, then you can just say, you can check the MLS and, do a search by the address or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, they can really provide whatever. They can also send text messages and emails to callers. So
Okay.
if someone calls in and your instructions would like them to provide them with a follow-up email or a follow-up text message, the Smith AI agents can do that as well.
Okay. And that brings me to an interesting question is, do you set those instructions up, I assume through a portal, and can you get granular with what current listings you have? So can you be constantly updating your instructions, or is it kind of you want to leave them pretty general, just because you don't want to be switching them up all the time?
Yeah, so you can update it anytime you want in real time. You can call in directly to Smith AI and just say, hey, I want to take all my calls today. I don't want you guys to handle any of them. And then they all just come in. You can change your instructions. Like maybe if it's a new listing, you have a procedure on how you want that to be handled. And then something changes. You can send an email to support@smith.ai with the updated instructions, or you can call in. But the preferred method is to send an email, and it'll get updated to your account within about 3 minutes or so. And they'll handle it however you want from there until they hear otherwise.
Okay. And so another question came in. So if somebody calls and they want to know, how do you want me to submit an offer? Is there an offer deadline? Those types of things. And it's already on the MLS. So clearly the person hasn't looked at the MLS. Can the instructions be, any instructions for submitting are located on the MLS? Please go look up the listing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And like I said, we can even send a text or an email with instructions and a link. So I know, a lot of the agents are using these different platforms to submit your offers on. We could just provide a direct link to that caller via email or text and say, hey, we're going to send you a link, open it up, and then fill that out, to that agent that's reaching out to us, or to you guys, I should say.
Awesome. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think if I can think anything else. I know you mentioned earlier, which I think is interesting, and for everybody else to know that it's not just real estate agents that are using this. Do you want to talk just a little bit about some of the other industries that are also using it to so that people can understand that it's
Yeah,
well-rounded?
yeah, absolutely. We are huge with attorneys. Attorneys' time is very valuable, as I feel ours is as well. They, yeah, if you look up Smith AI and like look up reviews, you'll see a lot of reviews for attorneys, but that's not the bulk of the business. We also do a lot of stuff with like handymen and like maybe like call type services, house cleaners, yard maintenance people. They will use Smith AI as their receptionist, to schedule appointments. We actually had, and we're starting to get some more of them, a lot of Airbnb people that
Hmm.
would use Smith AI. So someone would call in to Smith AI with like an Airbnb question, and then the Smith AI agent would provide the information like, lock boxes over here around the corner, or, here's the code for that building, things like that. Um, so we are applicable to many different types of industries and different types of businesses. And one thing I don't like to necessarily push as a Smith AI salesperson, but I think it's worth mentioning to the agents, especially because we are all salespeople naturally. Smith AI has like a referral program where you can actually get $25 off of your bill for every person that you refer that's active with Smith AI. And we actually have several accounts that they don't even pay for our service anymore. We actually send them a check in the mail because they've referred out so many people and get a credit. That is not our main business model, but I do think it's relevant to bring up here because we, as realtors, work with so many different types of professionals that could have great value in this service. So that's just something that I think is important to bring up to you guys as well.
A couple questions that I thought of. One is about calendaring. Um, and the
Mhm.
other, I guess the other would be about, maybe some privacy things, but around the calendaring, would somebody get access to your calendar, or would you give them like a login to Calendly or Showtime or something like that? Like, what would that calendaring look like?
Yeah, it really varies by the platform, but I would say most people that especially have like maybe private information on their calendar, like a Google Calendar or something, you would link it to a program like Calendly, um, or like Aptodo is like another one, and you would sync it with your personal calendar, whether it's a G calendar or an iCalendar or maybe an Outlook calendar. You would sync it, and if you have something that's private on your personal Google Calendar, but it's synced to your Calendly calendar, it would block off those time slots on your Calendly calendar or your other calendars so that when an agent logs on to try and book someone on there, those spaces will be blocked out, but they won't know why they're blocked out.
Okay.
So yeah, it is private and you can leave it open or closed as you see fit, and the agents will be able to see when you're available to get them on your schedule for you.
Okay. And are you finding that, law offices, typically are smaller, but with the agencies, are you seeing more independent brokers or offices with maybe 2 or 3 agents versus a large office with 15 or 20 agents? Kind of what kind of people or what type of businesses and sizes are you
Yeah.
seeing come in?
That's great. Yeah, we do a lot of solo practitioners. So I think for individual agents in real estate, it's greatly beneficial, especially if you're like a top producer and you're really busy all the time. Absolutely beneficial to you. If you're a broker and you have a bunch of agents in the office and you need to connect calls to them, that works as well. We do handle a lot of different offices that might have 20 or 30 transfer lines at least. Those are higher paying clients, obviously, because of the type of volume. But we do handle them. I mean, large or small. We have some offices that might have just, I don't know, maybe 100 calls a month. And when I talk about calls and I mentioned the free trial, I'm talking about real calls. So that's not counting spam calls. If you get 150 calls a month and only, 30 of them are real calls, those other 120 calls those don't ever get charged to your plan.
So the
So
IRS letting you know that you have back taxes and a warrant, those aren't real. They probably figured those out.
yeah, just say that that's a spam call. Yeah, no, we do have some preset filters where we're instructed to use our own judgment, the
Okay.
agent, I should say. But you can also give instructions and say, yeah, if it's someone calling in asking me if I need more leads or if I want to pay for a lead service, that's a spam call. Tell them I'm not interested, or take a message or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, you can tailor that. But yeah, to go back to your question, we do have large offices that use the service, and then we have solo people. We do have medical offices that use the service as well. We're just not HIPAA compliant, so it's a little bit harder, but we do have dental offices, other types of medical offices that will book appointments for, or we'll transfer it to someone that can do the HIPAA part of that. So
Okay.
we're in many different types of industries, and we do have real estate clients. In my experience, most of the real estate clients that I've interacted with just want a professional person to be answering the phone for them 24/7 or at certain times of the day. That's really what those types of clients are looking for. But there are so many features that we do offer, like the CRM integration, which is no charge. Those are little extra things that we can do that I think are highly valuable.
Awesome. And then my last question, I haven't seen any more come in, but my last question is, do you have somebody like yourself or somebody else on the team that can help somebody get this set up and guide them through what kinds of instructions they should be giving, and just some basic guidance as they're setting up their account?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to share this slide with you guys. I can take care of it for you guys, or if you go to our website and you just click schedule a call on smith.ai, you can do it that way. But since I am kind of the more real estate related type person, it would probably be beneficial for you guys to talk directly with me. And I would be happy to help anybody get that set up. And even if you have questions about CRM, I'm totally open to talking about that as well.
And just to close the loop on something real quick, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but what you said was, for example, if you get 100 calls a month, and let's say 75 and you actually end up with 150, but 75 of those are spam calls, you're not charged for anything over, because they do recognize spam, but does not go towards that legitimate set of calls that come in.
Exactly.
Okay.
You're only charged for those real calls that come in. This is more kind of a feeler to see like how interested you guys might be in this service, but we can go over like pricing, and basically we have packages. So like, for example, we have a 20 call package. It's like $140 a month. And I can't offer the discounts that we were talking about, or you can try the service for free. But at 20 calls a month, it's $140. So that's $7 cost per call. If you go over that 20 call limit, and when I say 20 calls, I'm talking about real calls, not if you have 50 spam calls that come in. Those don't get charged to your plan. But if you go over the 20 calls, you're billed at that average, or that cost per call. So you're billed at that $7. So if you go like 5 over, you'll be billed at an extra $35 on your bill. But then we have higher end plans, which are $600 a month for 120 calls. And you're only paying a rate of $5 per call at that price. I'm not sure. I mean, I guess some of the busy agents might be able to take advantage of that, but I can't imagine someone having really more than 100 leads a month, but maybe some of you guys do, which is awesome. So
is there rollover calls?
They do not roll over.
Okay.
So there's 3 packages. There's a starter package that's $140 a month for 20 calls. And like I said, like if you want them to just take calls on the weekends, maybe because you're doing open houses or whatever, You could do that, and whatever real calls come in on the weekends, those are the only ones you're going to get charged for. Or evening hours, if you want them to only do those calls, maybe less calls come in the evening anyway. So you can really tailor it to fit your budget and fit the timing that you want those calls to be answered. But we have 3 packages. The starter one's $140 a month for 20 calls. And then there's a basic plan that's $300 a month for 50 calls. And then there's a pro plan that's $600 a month for 120 calls. And then if you're getting over 200 calls a month that are real legit business calls, we have custom plans that we just provide a discounted rate above that based on the volume, which we don't get as much, but we do have some bigger clients that we do have to do those special packages for.
And I think you said that another question came in. I think you said these would be considered spam, but a company calling in to try to sell you leads or lending partners, those are considered spam because that's not a lead for your business as like a client.
Exactly. That's a spam call. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that 2 weeks is good. I think over 2 weeks, you can kind of get an idea of, you can kind of keep track yourself about, okay, I'm getting 4 phone calls at night or 1 phone call at night, and start to kind of average out and use the service.
Yeah. And the trial period is, like I said, there's no obligation to pay up front. So you could actually start the trial 14 days or 20 calls, see whatever happens first. At the end of the trial, Smith AI lets you know, like, hey, your trial's coming to an end. Would you like to continue with the service? And if you say no or you don't respond, you're not obligated to pay anything, and the service just ends. If you like the service and you see a return on it, then you continue and you pay your bill and you get your clients that, continue to come in, and you use the service for as long as you'd like to.
And yes, when we talk about 20 calls, that's considered legitimate leads for a business. Of somebody calling and said, I'm interested in 123 Main Street, or I'm looking for an agent. And I think that's where, if correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's where you can give instructions to who's ever answering the calls to maybe ask a few questions to make sure that this isn't just, somebody that's from ibuyhouses.com or whatever. This is a legitimate person looking for a house.
And the trial period helps with that as well, because it helps you identify what types of calls are coming in. And you can assess it as the service goes along. And it's a transparent relationship. So, I mean, you can change your plan at any time. It gets reflected in the next billing cycle. You can update your instructions in real time as if we're like an actual employee of yours. And it can be a learning process as we go. So that's, we can help you guys out.
Okay. Well, Matt, looks like in the chat box, everybody, the Bitly will go to the presentation, and then the Calendly will go to Matt's calendar, so you can just directly book something with him. And then, ask any other questions you have. Super helpful information. Some really good questions came in, so thank you guys for sending those in.
Absolutely.
And this was recorded, so we'll get this up on the SCORE website if you kind of want to listen through it again, or share it with anybody else.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
You are welcome.